Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki ki. Maybe you just turn on the transmitter itself. This is the battery only.
Okay. I have this. And this is the transmitter.
Yeah, this is the battery. I mean, if we have a battery for the camera, then we don't need any cable. But we don't have a battery for the camera.
I see.
Geht's jetzt? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet. So, Deutsch oder Englisch? Du übersetzt das Deutsche? Dann nochmal Englisch. Ihr habt das Buch, ja, ne? So we're reading from the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 13, The Descendants of Dhruva Maharaj. Text 33? 35. Text 35. Please repeat. Iti. Vyavasita. Vipras. Tasya. Ranjanaha. Vrajataye. Purodasham. Niravapan. Si Shipi. Vishtayam Vishnave Iti Vyavasita Vipras Tasya Rajna Prajataye Purodasham Niravapan Shipe Vishtaya Vishnave Iti Vyavasita Vipras Tasya Rajna Prajataye Purodasham Niravapam Shipi Vishtaya Vishnave Iti Vyavasita Vipras Tasya Rajna Prajataye Purodasham Niravapam Shipi Vishtaya Vishnave
Itivya vasita vipras Tasya rakya prachataye Purodasham niravapan Shipi vishtaya vishnave
Itivya vasita vipras Tasya rakya prajataye Purodasham niravapan Shipi vishtaya vishnave
Itivya vasita vipras Tasya rachana prachataye Purodasham niravapan Shipi vishtaya vishnave
Ladies,
Itivya vasita vipras Tasya rakya prachataye Purodasham niravapan Shipi vishtaya vishnave Itivya vasita vipras Tasya rakya prachataye Purodasham niravapan Shipi vishtaya vishnave
anybody? Yes.
Itivya vasita vipras
Tasya rakya prachataye
Purodasham niravapan Shipi vishtaya vishnave
Word by word, please repeat. Iti thus Vyavasitaha having decided Vipraha the Brahmanas Tasya his Ranyaha of the king Prajataye for the purpose of getting a son Purodasham the paraphernalia of sacrifice Niravapan offered Shipi Vishtaya to the Lord who is situated in the sacrificial fire Vishnave to Lord Vishnu Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada ki Jai. Thus, for the sake of a son for King Anga, they decided to offer oblations to Lord Vishnu, who is situated in the heart of all living entities. Purport. According to sacrificial rituals, animals are sometimes sacrificed in the yajna arena. Such animals are sacrificed not to kill them, but to give them new life. Such action was an experiment to observe whether the Vedic mantras were being properly pronounced. Sometimes small animals are killed in a medical laboratory to investigate therapeutic effects. In a medical clinic, the animals are not revived. But in the Yajna arena, when animals were sacrificed, they were again given life by the potency of Vedic mantras. The word Shipi Vishtaya appears in this verse. Shipi means the flames of the sacrifice. In the sacrificial fire, if the oblations are offered into the flames, then Lord Vishnu is situated there in the form of the flames. Therefore, Lord Vishnu is known as Shipi Vishta. Daruka, wenn du auf dem, dieses Grüne, wenn du da auf den Funk einzeln gehst und dann oben ins rechte Eck,
Ja.
kennst du da? Und dann ein bisschen runterdrehen bei den Rädchen. Ganz rechts ist so ein Rädchen, weil es ist so ein Echo da. Oh.
Ja, ich bin dabei schon.
Kennst du das?
Ich habe den Equalizer ausgemacht, jetzt soll es gehen.
Haribo. Ist immer noch, oder? Da ist so ein Rädchen, da musst du dran drehen. Du musst erstmal das oben rechts, also oben links, sorry, auswählen und dann runterdrehen. Ja, es geht besser, oder?
Ja,
Haribo. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gnana Jnana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swaparantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamaram Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Sham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopipakanta Radhakanta Namostate Jayatam Surato Pangur Mamamanda Matirgati Matsarvasva Padambojo Radhamadana Mohana Divya Tulendaranya Kalpadrumada Śrīmad-Radhangara Simhasanasto Śrīmad-Radha Srila Govinda Deva Upeshtalivi Sarimana Smarami Śrīmandra Sarasarambi Vamsivadatastidaha Karsham Veno Svanai Gopi Gopinata Shriyestunaha Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaurabhaktavranda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Once again the verse. Iti vivasita viprastasya rajna prajataye Purodasham Niravapan Shipi Vishtaya Vishnavim. Thus, for the sake of a son for King Anga, they decided to offer oblations to Lord Vishnu, who is situated in the hearts of all living entities. So, the topic is still the same like last week almost. We're talking about Vedic yajnas. And Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing in the purport the topic of how animal sacrifice was performed traditionally in Vedic times. And he's giving the analogy of a laboratory. Like this is one of the, you could say, it's a big topic actually. Many people have become conscious about it because especially rats, but sometimes also all kinds of other animals are used in laboratories to make all kinds of different experiments. It's well known. Some time ago I read some article about it, but I forgot the numbers. But it's many animals that are used to test medicines, to test also all kinds of cosmetic items, you know, they test it on the animals and see if they survive or not. You know. And also for all kinds of behavior experiments, you know, they take all kinds of animals and rats and they give them drugs and see how they react, you know, and see if they go crazy or how long it takes for them to go crazy or if they start behaving in a strange way. Or so this is very common nowadays that animals are abused, you know, and misused. For example, also before the man went to the space, they put a monkey, you know, in the rocket. I think Sputnik, maybe. I don't know, it was the Russians or the Americans first. But one of the two, they put a monkey in the rocket and then they shoot the poor monkey out of space. You know? And if the monkey survives, maybe a human can also go. Poor animals. But Srila Prabhupada is making a parallel that the traditional yajna, sacrifice of animals was of a very similar idea, but very different outcome. Because I was talking last time also already about Bali. So Bali is, you know, when an animal is sacrificed, and some people nowadays are trying to promote that Bali is okay because it's mentioned in the Vedas. And we should not label it just as animal cruelty. And there is some truth to it, but the key point is mentioned here is that they were giving new life. So this is a small but huge difference. So if you are able to chant the Vedic mantras in such a way and sacrifice the animal properly, the animal will be renewed. A very similar, like in a similar, very parallel line, Krishna is telling Arjuna when he's hesitating to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra. You know, he's very hesitant to fight, and Krishna is making a similar parallel. He's saying, "Don't worry. You will give them new bodies, a new life." So, basically, you know, he was talking about the elders, you know, Bhishma, Dronacharya, Kripacharya. Of course, there he was not talking about a yajna, but in a very similar parallel. You know, you will execute your duty, and they actually will not die. The only thing that is dying is the body. They will receive a new body. So, actually, if you are sober, you know, you will not be perturbed by the change of bodies, and they actually will benefit. If you die in a honorable fight, actually it's glorious, and that's known for many warriors. You know, any warrior class in any culture, they want to die in fights. You know, they don't want to die, you know, out of old age or in a miserable way. That's the dream of any warrior, to die gloriously in the battlefield. And so, of course, that's different because animals are not entering, you know, into a match with you to die a glorious fight. You know, usually they are driven by instinct. If they attack you. But most of the time, of course, humans with intelligence, they can manage to control them, trap them, you know, and maybe then use them for some experiment. Or in this case, you know, take an animal that has been that is pure, that is clean, that is beautiful. It's like when an animal is sacrificed in a Vedic ceremony, there's all kinds of requisites it should have in order for it to be eligible. It cannot be any animal also. But once the right animal is found, the animal actually will not die a normal death. It will not die a normal death, but actually it is described a little bit later on in the Bhagavatam, I think, 5th canto, how when Ashwamedha is performed, a horse sacrifice, visibly the animal, is renewed into a new body, into a more fresh, new form, visibly for everybody present. So if you can't do that, don't do animal sacrifices. That's the simple message. Like that. And then the second part of the topic here is that Sri Prabhupada is talking about Shipi Vishtaya. Shipi Vishta is the name of Vishnu. And Shipi means the flames of the sacrifice. So this is when we perform a yajna, a fire ceremony, the flames are considered to be the tongue of Vishnu. So the flames of the sacrifice are none different than the tongue of Vishnu. And therefore all the oblations we're offering are oblations directly to Vishnu. So this is a very powerful ceremony, of course, because we are directly feeding Vishnu, so to say. So if it's done properly, and at the beginning of any ceremony, a crucial part is to invite Agni. You invite Agni, and there's all kind of different types of fire you can invite by mantra. And if you do it properly, then Vishnu is considered to be present in that flame. That flame is Vishnu himself. And whatever is given into the flames is consumed by Vishnu directly. So the flame is very voraciously, drinking the ghee, burning the ghee, or grains, etc. And in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam later on, there is a very interesting section where it is described that actually even a fire ceremony is so powerful because Vishnu himself is accepting the oblations. Vishnu prefers that the ghee is given to the mouth of a Vaishnava, or Brahmanas is mentioned, Brahmanas or Vaishnavas. And then Srila Prabhupada says, yes, so therefore it's better to take ghee and to take the grains, and make some nice halava and give it to the Vaishnavas and Brahmanas. It's actually more pleasing to the Lord than giving oblations into the fire. So that's very interesting that this is like feeding the Brahmanas and feeding the devotees is put above performing yajnas. And of course that's very good because that's much easier. It's easier to be done, and it's also good because very nice sweet halava is very nice. We can honor prasadam and we can accept the blessings of the Lord, the prasad of the Lord in the form of prasad very easily. So this is really amazing because technically it is described that any form of yajna is only fulfilled if the brahmanas are fed. If the brahmanas are fed, then the yajna is complete. And I've read, I'm not sure if in Prabhupada's books, but somewhere I read it, very interesting description of fire ceremonies and how actually it is more expensive to feed the brahmanas than to do the yajna. So, and you will see this South Indian brahmanas, they're well fed, And there's this description, somebody was telling me it was Amara maybe, or something like this. They can eat a lot, Powerful brahmanas, they can devour a lot of food. So when you perform a yajna ceremony, then actually the main event is feeding the brahmanas actually at the end. They do the whole ceremony and at the end you have to feed them, sumptuously until they're completely satisfied. If they're completely satisfied, then only the ceremony is complete. And in a very similar way, any yajna is only complete with prasadam, actually. It is described. and especially in Kali Yuga, because of course also part of the prasadam is very important, because it's also said, in German language or English, that love goes through the stomach. So if you want to please really somebody, you give them something very tasty, something they really like. They certainly will be happy and positively disposed towards you. But of course, the brahmana also should be given charity and a donation, dakshina. In Kali Yuga, it's not recommended to actually give money. In Kali Yuga, it says charity is better to be only be food. And that we can understand, because in a yajna, not only the brahmanas, actually all sections of society receive from the king charity. So if you read the descriptions of the ceremonies, everybody is involved. Of course, the brahmanas are directly performing the ceremony, they're rewarded accordingly. But all the sections of society, all the vaishyas, the kshatriyas, the workers, the artists, everybody is involved and has a benefit of the ceremony, materially and spiritually. They all partake, and usually the king would give them in charity, land, gold, also utensils, fabrics, like that. And in Kali Yuga, it's not recommended to do that. In Kali Yuga, it's better to only give food, not any food, prasadam, because the tendency is that people will misuse money. And I've experienced it many times when you go on book distribution. There are, we have the gypsies in many parts of Germany. I don't know if it's still like that, but we had, when we were distributing books, the gypsies were our nightmare. If you came to a city and the gypsies were also there, then, it was trouble. Because they always interfered, when you're distributing, they interfere. When they see that somebody's taking Lakshmi out to give to buy a book, they come in between just at that moment, they give it to me, I'm poor. And they're like confused and like maybe they belong together and they run away. So, and sometimes we try to give them prasadam, to make them happy somehow. So, and very often they, because they want money actually, and prasadam usually worked, but sometimes even prasadam wouldn't work. They were not grateful enough even for prasadam. Or at other times you will have, all kind of beggars or junkies. They want something from you. They try to get some money from you, and if you give them food, they're not interested. They don't want food because they need the money for something else. So if you give them money, you will support their addiction. So if you somehow still manage to convince them to take prasadam, that's a great benefit. But certainly, it's misplaced charity, to give money to such people. And I saw once a documentary about the kids in Bahnhof Zoo, the kids from Bahnhof Zoo, and it's heavy, it's crazy, the way, the life they live, but also the amount of money they make a day. So it was, they basically, usually, most of them in average, every day they manage to collect around 800 euros. Every day. Just begging. Hast du mal eine Mark? Hast du mal eine Mark? Hast du mal eine Mark? Hast du einen Euro? And they collect so much money. And imagine, anybody who had 800 euros a day, that's like, 8,000, how much is it a month? So much money, So they would be actually, they could be wealthy people, but they're in the streets. So they're in the street, they are, wasting all this money for drugs, for their addiction. And of course, the reason they can do it is because they are addicted, And a very good example of this is the Woodstock Festival in Poland. Jakob was there. Jakob was at the Woodstock Festival in Poland. And Indradyumna Maharaj has organized a big yajna, the perfect yajna in Kali Yuga. So there's around 700,000 people to 1 million people there assembled, from all over Germany and Poland, right at the border between Germany and Poland, just like 50-60 kilometers from Berlin. And the devotees have a village of peace, and it's among this like Morloch, or like it's like Mordor, or Thakur said when he went to a festival, Ravana's village, So Ravana's camp, is there, and everybody is completely crazy and drunk, and everything glitters, And then in the middle of this, there is the village of peace, Krishna's village of peace, and it's quite big. It's really quite a big area, a big stage, and then a second smaller stage for where there's like 20 hours a day, kirtan, and a big Ratha Yatra cart standing in the middle, and at least there is minimum in those 5 days festival, there is minimum 1 Ratha Yatra every single day. And that's 1 year they did 3 Ratha Yatras every day. One in the morning, 2-3 hours, noon 2-3 hours, and then late afternoon, another 2-3 hours Ratha Yatra. But minimum 1 Ratha Yatra and 2 Harinams, with around 500 devotees. And of course the main part, distributing prasadam. So there's this big tent, with, I don't know, maybe 10 rows, and there's constantly, non-stop, people lining up, and for, 2-3 zlotys, I don't know how many euros it is, but, small amounts, like 50 cents or something, they can get a full plate of prasadam. Halava, rice, salad, sabji, papadams, and it takes a big crew of around 600 devotees to manage all of this, and different kitchens. There's this big pot, looks like a rocket from NASA, and there's a big fire underneath, wood fire. For such a big pot, nothing, you can forget gas, you can forget electricity. It has to be a big bonfire, and then with a big paddle, like 5 meters long, and make a big sabji. And then they just like open the hose and fill up the buckets, So this pot is constantly being cooked, and it's been taken out, and constantly more vegetables and spices being thrown in. So during the day, the flavor changes a little bit, Different batch depending what kind of batch you got. And they have there's a school nearby where all the devotees are staying, and the whole cellar of the school is papadam production. So there's like 20 different oil woks, and the devotees are frying. Usually you take one packet, one papadam, and you throw it into the oil until it comes up. You just open a package, whole package in with a big ladle, and out. And because they distribute within 5 days around 150,000 plates of prasadam. So it's a very successful yajna, very successful. You can see the benefit is obvious for everybody, and now Jakob is also here. So yes, distributing prasadam, and Indradyumna Maharaj always emphasizes that point that Srila Prabhupada said that we can conquer the world by culture. So that's his emphasis. By the culture of kirtan, theater, drama, and he puts a very, very strong emphasis that everybody should be dressed, properly and nicely. You're representing a very, elevated culture, spiritual culture, Vedic culture, and if the Harinam and all the dramas that are performed there, everything is performed to the highest perfection possible, and it has such an impact on the people. People are just amazed. And a little bit more about the history of this Woodstock festival is that actually the organizer of this festival is a very famous Polish philanthropist after the Pope, the Polish Pope, who was it, Paul II or something? No, Paul II? I think he was the Polish Pope. He's very famous. Everywhere in Poland they sell his pictures, and Polish are very Catholic. You know? But the second most popular person is, what's his name? Ovchak? Huh? Ovchak. Yeah. He's very famous. Big philanthropist. He organizes this big, donation events. People donate for people who are sick of cancer, and all kinds of, for children, for orphanages, and he's very famous. So he manages to collect huge amounts of money for philanthropy, in television. And to thank the people, he organized this festival. So it's a free festival, no entry fee. You can just go there, put your tent, and big festival. So it's a free festival, the first time he organized this festival, it was a big catastrophe. Big catastrophe, like all kinds of punks, drunk, fighting. Police had to come. People dying from overdosing, and big catastrophe. So he was like, oh my God, I was trying to do something good for society, organize this big festival, and just people just go mad and crazy. So much violence also, a lot of violence broke out in the festival. And then this Ovchak visited the village of Peace, the Festival of India Polish tour. He was in the Baltic Sea coast, because many Polish people don't go to Italy, they go to the Baltic Sea coast, very nice also. If you have some luck, there's nice weather also. And the devotees have been organizing festivals there since quite a long time, I think already more than 30 years now. Somehow, some people asked Niduna Maharaj, why Poland? Why not Australia or the Caribbean or Bali? And like, there's so many beach places in the world. Why Poland? Why the Polish Baltic Sea coast? Why? And Maharaj said, I don't know why, but somehow it worked there the best. Somehow it works there the best. It's the perfect formula. People are there. Many families are there, and the devotees do Harinam, and it started with just very simple Harinams. Very simple Harinam, and then they would stop the Harinam and they would do a drama, just in the street. They would do some dramas in theater, and people would love it. So it became bigger and bigger, and now they have like a stage, which is like a truck, big truck, and the truck comes, and it opens up like transformer, and the whole stage is there, And there's so many tents for prasadam, for yoga, for astrology, to put at the duty, and book stands, and so it's a big festivals attract around 5,000 to 10,000 people every night. And that's 50 festivals in 2 months. So only Mondays is free, basically. Tuesday to Sunday, every day a feast. Usually 2 to 3 days in one city, and then the devotees pack everything and move to the next city. So this Ovchak, he saw this festival and he said, "You have to come to my festival. This is such a nice atmosphere. If you come, I'm sure my festival will be more peaceful." So they agreed, okay, we'll try it. So they call it Krishna's Village of Peace, in the middle of the Woodstock. And since then, Woodstock is peaceful. Because all the young people who are like, in this, getting drunk and crazy in Ravana's village, they have a chance to go out and take prasadam, to do kirtan. And also one of the main duties and sevas in Niduna Maharaj puts a lot of emphasis is to keep the entire area clean. So he himself is going around and picking beer cans. And of course when he starts doing that, then all the disciples are like, okay. So everybody's picking beer cans. So the entire area is completely clean. So many young people, they come and they never leave the village. the Krishna's pizza village. They just come. Almost everybody goes there to eat. Almost everybody goes there to eat. But many come and they never leave the village. Actually, they just stay there. They eat there. They sleep there. They spend the whole 5 days in Krishna's village of peace. So I'm saying this because sometimes we might wonder how is the Sankirtan Yajna, going to affect many people, and it is possible if it's organized in the right way, somehow by Krishna's grace. A situation can arise where this very simple formula of Harinam, Sankirtan, Sivadim Prasadam can be executed in huge, gigantic way. Thousands of people have been benefited. Like in the Tirtha, Prabhu was saying yesterday, and Krishna was his old name, Ananda Krishna. Most people don't know him anymore as Ananda Tirtha. Ananda Krishna, he was saying that Inaduna Maharaj told him that whatever he's doing now, it's because he was a book distributor when he was young. For so many years he was distributing books. So that's the basis for what he's doing nowadays. So distributing books is such a powerful training to be completely connected to the essence of our parampara, to the heart of our acharyas, especially Srila Prabhupada. If we connect to that at one point, then you remain, always aware of that, ideal. So, and this ideal, it's also described that actually the 6th verse of the Guru Vastakam is referring to book distribution, actually. The 6th verse is Nikunjayu Norati Kelisidyam Jaya Divir Yuktira Pikshaniya Tratrati Dakshat Ati Balabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanavindam. So the spiritual master is expert at connecting everyone with the Nikunja Yuna, with the pleasure pastimes of Sri Radha Krishna. So he's trying to do that, and he's Dakshat. Daksha means expert. So we should become expert. Whatever we do, it should be done with as much expertise as possible. And it can be seen in the acharyas, how much expertise they had, and that's why they were able to perform such incredible tasks. Like the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, even like externally, any yogi or Babaji, or sannyasi or tapasvi might seem like an uncivilized person. There's this meme that was going around in social media of a yogi, and he might look, if you first look at them, he might look like some beggar, some kind of like, dirty locks and maybe ashes and like some tribal from the forest, maybe from the jungle, with barely any clothes, half naked. And like one English, I think she was the wife of some officer who was in the colonial government of India, and her impression of India was the dirtier, the holier. So that was her impression, like the holy people of India, the more dirty, the more holy. So she didn't realize, or in general, sometimes we think that civilization or sophistication is expressed in material wealth, material status. You have a big car, you have expensive clothes. You live in a big apartment, in a penthouse. You have a water bed, something like that. That means you're sophisticated and civilized. But actually, what is sophisticated and civilized? Sophisticated and civilized means that you have pure character. You have pure character. You have compassion. You have realization of God. And so many people who are demoniac, who are exploiting the world, you know, all the CEOs of big corporations, you know, so many dictators, you know, they have very nice houses with gold and, you know, nice palaces, you know, but they're the worst people you can imagine, you know, character-wise. You know? They're murderers, you know, they're exploiters, horrible people, you know? But they might appear, you know, at first glance to be very nice. You know? And once I was very surprised when I read that actually New York, this was in the 90s, New York, maybe nowadays I'm not sure, but probably still to some extent, was a favorite shopping place for most of the dictators of the world. You know? So if you go to like one of the big hotels in New York, you could meet the wife of Saddam Hussein, you know, Gaddafi's son, you know, and I don't know, like that, you know. Even, what's his name, the dictator of North Korea, he was studying in Swiss, you know, very nice hotel he was living, you know. Kim Jong-un. So, if you have money, you know, in Kali Yuga it says, you know, the value of a person is determined by their wealth, you know, not by their character. So even America was declaring war on those people, or, you know, officially was fighting. They were still, because they had money, they could get a diplomatic visa, they could enter, you know, and you know, they would be, you know, courteously, you know, welcomed. You know. So that is not civilization. The 6 Goswamis were known to live every night under a different tree. Every night under a different tree. You know, they only had, you know, Babaji only has basically a mala, you know, and maybe 2 pieces of cloth, you know, a water pot, kamandalu. That's all he has, you know, materially speaking. Very, very simple, but extremely sophisticated people. You know? Very, very, very learned. So the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavana, especially Jiva Goswami, even he was living under a tree, you know, every night different tree. Jiva Goswami wrote more than 400,000 verses. So that's 4 times the whole Mahabharata. So it's amazing, you know. So these are really dakshats, you know, qualified people. Even externally, they seemed like they were like beggars, you know, living in a forest. You know. Actually, the 6 Goswamis, you know, they established in the whole town of Vrindavan, you know, so many temples, you know. So yes, the true measure of civilization is not external. The true measure of civilization actually is internal, it's character. And I forgot where I was going. I was trying to go somewhere, now I forgot.
But still it's important for preaching.
Huh?
Maybe that still external is important for preaching.
Yeah, that's also true, of course. There's a description of a brahmachari in the 8th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and I was like, what? I was like that before I became a brahmachari. You know? I had long dreaded locks, you know. You know, the description of the brahmachari says the brahmachari should have dreadlocks, you know. He should put cow dung to his dreads, you know. That's how sadhus take care of their dreads, you know. You put cow dung, then it becomes, you know, no lice, you know. And you have long dreadlocks, and they're wearing tree bark, you know. They have a kamandalu, you know. Never a shave, you know. It says never cutting his nails, you know. That's a brahmachari, you know. So modern day brahmachari has an iPhone, a laptop, you know, is shaving with much tree gillettes, you know. But there are different measures, you know. This is a, you could say, yogi, ascetic, tapasvi, you know, brahmachari. Prabhupada put a lot of emphasis, and Vaishnavas are always, Brahmins in general, they are always clean, clean shaved. So yes, what I'm trying to say is not that we should neglect our external appearance. Yeah, I lost the link exactly, but I think I'll stop here anyways. Maybe there are some questions, comments, something you'd like to add. Okay, yes.
saying that.
He will give you the mic, then the people who are online, they can also hear.
So I had two questions. So one thing, so first one, you were saying that in this Kali Yuga, Harinam Sankirtan is the yajna, and in the other yugas it was the fire sacrifice and bali and so on.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to know the reference. Where is it mentioned that it's for the Kali Yuga it's Harinam Sankirtan?
Somebody knows the verse? It's in the 12th canto of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Somebody knows the verse? Yes. Yes, it's in the 12th canto of the Bhagavatam. It says, huh? Is the last shloka? Last shloka of the Bhagavatam. It says, as in the, while in the Satya Yuga the process was, meditation, in Dwapara Yuga the process, Treta Yuga the process was Yajna, in Dwapara Yuga the process was Arka Vigraha, Seva, in Kali Yuga it's Harinam Sankirtan.
So the second question, so you were saying that Krishna was saying Arjuna that fight and don't worry about the killings and so on. So in the modern age that can be misinterpreted, and there are maybe some sects of people who say that you can kill people in the name of God, and so how do we interpret this from Krishna's message? How is it different from in Krishna's message?
So what's the difference between jihad and dharma yuddha?
I don't want to go into the names.
No, it's a very important question, because many people, when they read the Bhagavad Gita, they're shocked. They're like, how is this a good book? And in the beginning, when Krishna consciousness was preached in the West, some people were like criticizing also. This is it's a very dangerous sect. Very dangerous sect. They dance around the tree in the morning, and then they say that killing your family members is good. Very dangerous sect. You should stop them. So the whole thing is context. The whole thing is context. The reason why Krishna is saying that is because he's starting with Arjuna is completely in a dilemma, and even he is the most capable warrior, and in the past he was victorious in so many battles. At that moment two things happened. So this is described in the Bhagavad Gita that in the purpose of the acharyas that two things can be attributed to Arjuna. One is that because he's a devotee, he has compassion. And the second one is that actually, because of some Maya illusion, he's confused about his duty. So both are happening simultaneously. So we should not forget one and neglect the other, because both are very telling. So one is that it is natural for a devotee to feel compassion and not want to actually fight. It is the nature of a devotee. Somebody is a true bhakta, is really following dharma. He will have the sensation that actually I don't want to be violent. And that is described in the Bhagavad Gita also as in the 13th chapter. And ahimsa is glorified, non-violence. And in the Mahabharata itself, it says, ahimsa parao dharmo, one of the highest form of dharma is to be peaceful. So this is very clear. It's clear that to be peaceful is one of the signs of a Vaishnava, of a Brahmana, Santosha, Shanta. All the Vedic hymns end with Om Shanti Shanti, Shanti Shanti. But at the same time, there is duty. So in this situation, it was Arjuna's duty. So the fight that he's fighting, in his case, he was a warrior, he had to fight. In our case, it means what is your duty? Arjuna wanted to escape his duty, and Krishna did not allow any form of escapism. Basically, in the name of being neglectful to your duty, I'm going to go to the forest. I'm going to leave my family. I'm going to neglect everything. Because that might be very easily a tendency. At one point of your life, you might have reached this point where you're like, probably the best is I just go. I just leave everything and everybody behind and I just go. That's the easiest path. It might seem like the easiest path. But Krishna says, no, it will not really solve the problem, because even if you neglect your duty now, you're still taking your nature with you. Because your duty arises from the nature that you have. So if you're a warrior and you try to become a yogi, your nature will come true at one point. So you should fulfill your duty honorably, honestly. So that's the message. So in Arjuna's case, yes, he was a warrior. He was the most capable warrior. It was a justified fight for sure. And to understand Kshatriya Dharma, it's very important to really study the Dharma-Veda. When you study the Dharma-Veda, you understand that a Kshatriya is not, I say in English, Raubritter. Raubritter were those knights in the Middle Ages. They were just pillaging. Like when you travel from here to Italy, you go through Innsbruck, and then also Zillertal. There's a few like very famous passages from Northern Europe to Southern Europe. And all of this area is full of small castles, So these were Raubritter castles, So the Raubritter, we had a knight. He was standing on his, small burg, castle, and like, oh, look, some people are coming, dun, 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 and then he would just steal everything from them and go back to his burg, with all the wealth. So that's not a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya is, there is so many codes of conduct for a Kshatriya. A Kshatriya will never fight with somebody who has not equal weapons. Will never strike somebody from the back. Will never strike somebody who has surrendered and taken shelter of him. Will not fight during the night, and so on and so forth. So many rules. For a Kshatriya, a true Kshatriya, to die is to trespass his honor is worse than dying. To lose the honor, to fight dishonorably, would be worse than to die. So warriors are therefore, like true warriors in all cultures are glorified. If somebody is a just warrior, just honorable, fighting for the right cause, it's glorious. It's not glorious when it's done, just out of selfishness. Like a Raubritter is not very glorious. It's just basically a, criminal. So yes, the Kshatriyas, to fulfill Kshatriya Dharma is absolutely honorable. So it's not encouraging to fight, to kill your relatives. Krishna had just was using the situation also to give him the bigger perspective of reality as well. That while you might have this temporary duties and temporary relationships, ultimately we are all spirit souls. The soul does not die. When the body is killed, the soul is not dying. So of course in this situation especially, when something is about life and death, you can talk much deeper. So Krishna was making the whole comparison about what is the nature of the body and what is the nature of the Atma. How the soul cannot be destroyed by weapons, by water, by fire, by air, etc. So in this situation, of course, it's very easy to explain these topics. And also, the Bhagavad Gita is placed, it's considered to be, of course, the jewel of the Mahabharatam. Because the Mahabharata, if you read the Mahabharata, you will love Arjuna, and you will love, and you also might love Karna, because Karna is such an amazing story. Radeya, also known as Radeya. And you're fully invested into that story, and just before this battle, you know, Arjuna doesn't want to fight. So the attention is, you cannot have a better climax, or like you could say, point of attention. Just before the climax of the story, you know, it becomes even more intense. Arjuna doesn't want to fight. It's like, what? You're like, no, please fight. Arjuna, not now. And then Krishna talks the Bhagavad Gita just at that moment. So anybody who reads the Mahabharata will certainly, you know, fully imbibe the Bhagavad Gita within it, you know, because it's placed in the perfect moment, you know, the moment of most suspension. Yes, it's okay. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Grantharaj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrī Prabhupada ki jai.